who do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democratic primary?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC.
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader.
Bernie, AOC, Mandani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
The conversation begins with a sharp political question about who might lead the Democratic Party heading into the 2028 primary. The discussion quickly turns to familiar progressive figures like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. While both of them attract some of the largest and most energetic crowds in American politics today, there is skepticism about whether that enthusiasm can actually translate into long-term electoral success.
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club.
Critics argue that big crowds alone do not guarantee victories, especially in national elections where broader appeal matters far more than rally size or social media buzz. The argument continues with the idea that both Bernie Sanders and AOC represent a more democratic socialist direction within the party. However, some commentators insist they are not traditional Democrats in the classical sense, and instead openly identify with democratic socialism. This distinction, they argue, is not fully understood by many voters. At the same time, there is a broader debate about socialism in America, with some pointing out that the country already operates with several socialist-leaning systems such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment benefits, food assistance, and various government subsidies.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism, but something completely different? Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
Because of this, the term socialism itself has become politically loaded and often misunderstood. The discussion then shifts toward Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the criticism she frequently receives from political commentators like Bill Maher. Maher has repeatedly challenged what he sees as woke politics, arguing that it often disconnects progressive leaders from everyday voters. Issues like language politics, identity framing, and cultural debates are highlighted as examples of policies that resonate strongly within activist circles but not necessarily with the broader public. One of the most criticized examples is the term Latinx, which was introduced as a gender-neutral alternative for Latino or Latina. While promoted as inclusive, many within the Latino community reportedly rejected it or found it confusing, leading to backlash and eventual distancing by some politicians.
Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid.
Although AOC continued to defend it. Further criticism is directed at policies affecting education and public services. Some argue that progressive approaches, particularly in large democratic cities, have unintentionally alienated key voter groups such as Asian American and Latino communities. For example, changes in school systems, debates over advanced academic programs, and COVID-era education policies are mentioned as reasons why some families feel disconnected from the Democratic Party. These voters, according to critics, are not necessarily moving away due to ideology alone, but because they feel unheard on practical issues like education quality, safety, and economic stability. The conversation also highlights a broader political warning. Big enthusiasm does not always equal electoral success. even if figures like AOC
And more of them now than ever are identifying as Republican. So are Asian Americans, whose support for Democrats is down 16 points since the last election. A lot of that is because, in the name of achieving equity in schools, Democrats in deep blue cities have made it a mission to eliminate the advanced programs at which Asian kids excel. Asian parents said, okay, I wish all kids well, not a racist, but I need someone who acts like my lawyer. If you're a parent and wanted schools to reopen a lot sooner than they did after COVID shutdowns, or think maybe your kid is getting a bad education, partly because it's nearly impossible to fire a lousy teacher, yeah, you're gonna say, congratulations, teachers, you got yourself a good lawyer. The Democratic Party's always got your back, 100%. But I've noticed my kid is kind of an idiot.
Bernie Sanders dominate media attention and draw massive crowds, elections are ultimately decided by swing voters, moderates, and independent communities. Historical examples are used to show that high fundraising numbers, celebrity endorsements, and viral popularity do not guarantee victory at the ballot box. Another major point raised is the importance of messaging. Critics argue that Democrats often focus too heavily on opposing figures like Donald Trump rather than clearly defining their own vision. Voters, they suggest, want direct answers about everyday concerns such as healthcare, cost of living, jobs, education, and retirement security. Without a clear and unified message, even well-funded campaigns can struggle to connect with the electorate. The discussion then expands into internal party tensions, particularly between moderate Democrats and progressive or democratic socialist factions. Some party strategists warn that moving too far left on social or economic issues could alienate centrist voters who ultimately decide national elections. While progressive ideas energize a strong base, they may also create resistance among independents.
And who do you see on the horizon for 2028 in the Democratic primary?
Right now?
Yeah.
Bernie and AOC.
No.
They got the biggest crowds.
That doesn't matter.
It won't sustain itself, but right now they have no leader. Okay? But this is the thing the Republican Party has to understand too. Both parties lost in the last election. Trump won, okay? And I don't know if that's going to transfer.
And moderates who prioritize stability and practical governance over ideological shifts. In conclusion, the central argument is that American elections are not won purely on ideology, popularity, or media attention. Instead, they are won through trust, relatability, and the ability to connect with everyday concerns. Political figures like AOC may have strong influence and passionate supporters, but critics argue that without broader appeal, translating that energy into national victory remains uncertain. Ultimately, the message is that success in politics depends not just on momentum, but on balance between ideas, communication, and the real-world needs of voters. Bill Maher has clashed with Adam Schiff before, and their exchanges are rarely comfortable. Maher often criticizes progressive politics, while Schiff represents the polished Democratic establishment. So when they share a stage, it usually turns into
Maggot adjacent, and then Vance and Jr. will fight it out for that crowd.
You're AOC and Bernie, and who's at the top of the ticket?
They're going to lead right now.
Who's at the top of that ticket, Kevin? Because if it's not Bernie, he's going to be vice president and then wait his turn?
No, it would be. Bernie's been running each time. I'm just saying who's in the lead right now. I don't think that's how it ends up.
But big crowds don't necessarily mean who's the right candidate. You know, when I started
but it drives where the ideas are going to go. It's going to drive the money for a while.
It doesn't make them the winner.
It doesn't make them the winner. You'll have to wait till you'll get 2 years out, and then you'll start seeing these governors that start showing solutions. You also have to know, what is the issue going to be? Are we going to have a foreign policy issue? Are we going to have an economic issue? And who's been the best in leading in that? But right now, for the Democrats, who's going to lead for the next 2 years, the money is going to... AOC outraised everybody in the House.
And it's all small dump.
Into sharp jokes, awkward pauses, and uncomfortable truths. This time was no different. From foreign policy to California's economy, from parenting to party messaging, Maher kept pressing Schiff on issues many politicians prefer to avoid. One of the most revealing moments came when Maher quoted a vague justification for military action and asked Schiff if it sounded too broad. Schiff immediately agreed, calling it weak and unclear. Then Maher revealed the quote was from Barack Obama's Libya explanation, not Donald Trump. Instantly, the room changed. Maher's point was simple. Too many politicians judge actions based on who says them, not what is actually being said. Double standards have become normal in modern politics, and voters notice it.
Ernie, AOC, Mandani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're democratic socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food stamps, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, COVID-era payments, farm subsidies, disability payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, corporate bailouts, and the jobs program that is building weapons the Pentagon doesn't even want.
The conversation then shifted to California, where Maher focused on why film productions and businesses continue leaving the state. Schiff argued that other states and countries simply offer stronger tax incentives. But Maher pushed back, suggesting the deeper issue is California itself. High taxes, heavy regulations, expensive housing, and endless bureaucracy have made operating there increasingly difficult. Hollywood isn't relocating just for fun, it's following affordability. For years, California sold itself as the land of opportunity, but many now see it as the land of cost. Maher even joked about his own struggles dealing with California regulations, mentioning personal projects and business ventures slowed down by red tape. Beneath the humor was a serious criticism. The state often feels hostile to the very people who create jobs, invest money, and keep industries alive. If California wants to remain
DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social policy. Their platform, for example, calls for completely open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more. You think you're going to win an election on that? This just seems like more extremism at a time when Americans are begging both parties, please, could just one of you act normal?
Competitive, Maher argued, it must become friendlier, not just for celebrities and corporations, but for ordinary families trying to survive. Another major topic was parenting, schools, and children glued to phones. Maher questioned whether the United States should consider restrictions similar to proposals in the UK limiting children's access to social media. He argued that many parents have lost authority, classrooms have become distraction zones, and discipline has collapsed. While technology was sold as progress, it often replaced focus with constant stimulation. Attention spans dropped, learning suffered, and many children now seem more influenced by screens than adults. Maher's broader point was cultural, not just technological. Schools are supposed to build discipline, literacy, and independence. Instead, too many classrooms are dominated by devices, entertainment, and fragmented attention. Parents complain.
Police or military in the streets. Either MAGA's crypto crony capitalism or city-run grocery stores. No, I don't want that. I want a Democrat who reassures me if you like your Whole Foods, you can keep your Whole Foods.
Teachers struggle and students drift. For Maher, this is one of those obvious problems leaders hesitate to confront because the solutions require saying no, enforcing standards, and risking backlash. The discussion also turned toward national politics and why many Americans vote the way they do. Schiff insisted Joe Biden would win because voters wanted a decent, moral person in office. But Maher challenged that assumption. He argued that elections are not won simply by pointing out flaws in the other side. Many voters do not support candidates because they love them, they support them because they reject the alternative. If one party appears arrogant, extreme, or disconnected from reality, frustrated voters respond accordingly. Maher highlighted cultural issues where common sense and activist ideology collide. He referenced debates over biological sex in sports and argued that many ordinary voters see some progressive positions as detached from reality. Even if they dislike Trump, they may still vote against a party that appears to deny obvious